news blow up that's happening right now. You've probably started to see this popping up in the US, and if not, you're going to see this all over your Facebook feeds and all over your news feeds in a few minutes, because it's all over mainstream news, and you know how mainstream news is. I've never been, and you guys know if you follow this channel, it's not an alien channel. It's always been a channel about getting the truth out and human rights and exposing government lies, trying to figure out what's really going on in this world, and more than that, standing up and defending people and loving our neighbors as ourselves. Well, let's not wait. Here's all these news stories popping up right now. You're going to see these on US News. If you haven't, they just started popping in the last few hours, and you can see this is on all over Mexican news. It was presented like in the past 24 hours. I think late yesterday it was presented by this Jamie Mossam, who's a journalist that some people like and some people question his credibility, but he is an award-winning Mexican journalist and TV personality. And in the Mexican Congress yesterday, they presented these alien bodies, and it's all over these news stories, and they're showing these bodies. I went and dug through. I started looking through and looking at comments and stuff like that, and then one of the comments was saying, hey, you need to go look for this and look at the original video from the Congress, because it has more in it. Seemed weird to me. Here's what I ask. Whenever the government is suddenly giving you information, especially the US government. Now, you could look at Mexico and they'll be like, hey, screw this. If the US is going to come out and talk about aliens, we're going to too. You got to remember that the Mexico government is very corrupt, and they love to be like the US. Right? Their goal of the corrupt Mexican politician is to someday be as fascist and be able to control individual rights as much as United States politicians. That said, it is worth noting that Mexico is not just a two-party system. Mexico has at least 3 parties that hold substantial amounts of seats in their Congress, and so they're much more split up instead of just being two-party. Okay, just giving you kind of some backstory here as we go into this, because then you go, and this was a live stream actually from, here's the channel here. This is the original video. I will link this original video so you can go back to it. Obviously, it's in Spanish. And at this point, I don't see any way, there's no captions or subtitles at this stage, so I have no way to do like an auto translate on there like we can do sometimes on these, okay? So this is the channel of Congress of Mexico. This was presented on the 12th, so yesterday, in Congress in Mexico, by this guy and then all these other people that we're talking about. We probably won't watch the whole thing. You guys can watch the whole thing, and people that are more fluent in Spanish than me, I'm sure, will come out and give feedback on this. But I thought we'd just get on here and talk about this, because doesn't it seem weird to you that the governments are all coming out saying this, especially in the US? We know, I don't know if you guys have watched channels like the YFiles, right, which explores all of the conspiracy theory stuff and the legends and all this kind of stuff. Phenomenal storyteller, this guy. His videos are absolutely riveting to watch, and I highly recommend you subscribe to this channel. He takes on all these crazy things, and then he presents them with all the data as if it's completely real, and then at the end he comes in with all the skepticism, and sometimes flat out disproves them. Sometimes he's like, yeah, it looks like it's true. Sometimes he's like, I just don't know. But he considers himself a open-minded skeptic as well. What you can find proven in this, though, is that NASA, the government, all these things, they're constantly lying. Now, we knew this. If you watch this channel, you know that police and government lie all day. Every day, it's what they do for a living. It's what politicians do for a living. They lie, and they abuse, and they steal. But what I'm getting at is why. Why aliens in Congress in the U.S. now, after all these years, these testimonies in U.S. Congress in the past few months about aliens, what are they kind of baiting and switching on, right? We're looking over here. Remember, when we're looking over here, what are they doing over here? When they say this is the official narrative, what are they doing over here? Because if there's one thing that's been proven in the past few years by mainstream science with the virus and this and all the stuff that went on, right? Trying to use the keywords to not get censored here from the algorithms. We know that mainstream scientists are actually the pseudoscientists. Now, it doesn't mean all the far conspiracy theorists and all their crazy things are automatically true. I expect evidence, not like, you know, oh, it's 2023, but I got a super blurry image of a Sasquatch. Really? Because you don't have a phone that actually takes clear pictures? I'm not buying it, right? So I expect actual evidence. You see, there's lots of news stories in Spanish right now, and then they're coming out in English. So there's all these news stories, you know, not human cuerpos, 3 fingers, long, elongated heads, I think would be the way to translate that. They are 700 to 1800 years old. So this, again, this is a CNN story, CNN Mexico, right? CNN Espanol. Let's go to the source. This is the source material right here. And so we're in this here.
Se encontraron por lo menos 20 de sus cadáveres. Estos cuerpos fueron desenterrados y se encontraron por lo menos 20 de sus cadáveres de manera informal, casi intactos, cerca de las enigmáticas líneas de Nazca. Okay, so he's saying, that, you can look at the graph here. These were found in Peru near the Nazca lines. It sounds like he said they had counted at least 20 intact bodies, is what they're saying. So it's not just one guy testifying on this. And you can see there was a live stream here. This guy says his grandma is also a mummy from Nazca. So yeah, this is typical YouTube live stream. We want to see the aliens, not this guy. Casi intactos, cerca de las enigmáticas líneas de Nazca.
Circa the Nazca lines.
Solo un paréntesis, yo no soy ufólogo. Desde los años 90 me formé en las filas del periodismo televisivo.
I was a journalist from the 90s in television, so they're giving their credentials here as they testify, right? I'm not going to watch every single second of this. We're going to kind of... Okay, so this is saying they're not human corpse, although they kind of look like they could be small, like kids or something, but no, they have 3 fingers. They could also be paper mache, right? Because we're not seeing the clearest images. Let's maintain our skepticism here as we go over this, because... we need reputable U.S. scientists, someone Love says in the chat, to confirm if test these corpses. Who are the reputable U.S. scientists? The people that told us that we had to close down the world? Mainstream science, who actually proved, you know, right up to National Geographic, your local hospital, all these people, the same scientists, hospitals, and politicians that are fining Ammon Bundy $52 million for protesting at their hospital because they were taking someone's baby by force? Is this the scientists we're going to trust? So it's getting to the point where it's like, who do you trust? The people that are so-called crackpots, they have just as much credibility as the so-called experts and the scientists. Who do we go to? Bill Nye? Come on. What do we do? What do we do? So we know governments lie, and we're just looking at this. I'm not saying on here that I believe this, for the record. This just popped out, and I thought, you know what? Let's go live. Let's not wait. Let's break the news. Okay, so he's saying 1.7 meters, so that's like 4-ish, about 4 feet, I want to say, maybe a little more. And yes, they took around 20 corpses, 20 bodies.
Mi investigación periodística, la número 5, mi investigación periodística se basa en estudios académicos y científicos.
He studied in journalism and academic and scientific things.
Realizados en varios países y con el respaldo de algunos de los más.
What's this saying here? At least three corpos of 60 centimeters. No, the DNA analyzed does not coincide with any species on this planet. All the internal organs appear to be in place. Okay. Saying there's like some balls like on the inside of 3 of the corpse. There's like huevos. He says huevos, which translates as eggs, but I think he means more like objects here. Okay, so we're just going to kind of skip through, get some close-ups.
Con lo rotundo que puede ser una prueba de ADN y el análisis que se puede hacer ahora con la ciencia que...
Now, so we have some of these interesting looking bodies, so-called, being shown in the Mexican Congress. Just to get you up to speed here, these came out yesterday in the Mexican Congress and are being presented as if they are aliens discovered in Peru near the Nazca lines, and they're just presenting the details.
El hallazgo durante una conferencia de prensa en Lima.
But here's the thing. I mean, if again, I'm always a person that's first act like Jesus, love your neighbor as yourself. But I'm not closed off into the fact that neither science nor the arrogant preachers have a grasp on the universe. And so I'm a open-minded skeptic on these things, but let's be honest, I mean, you could build these out of paper mache and 3D printers, so...
Algunos arqueólogos y otros profesionales que se hacen llamar de la comunidad.
And people are skeptical as well. The Mexican nationals in the chat here are mostly being crude, but they're skeptical as well.
Denunciaron fraude, la fabricación de cuerpos con restos de otros animales y dijeron a la opinión pública.
What's he saying?
La fabricación se hacen llamar de la comunidad científica, denunciaron fraude y otros profesionales que se hacen durante una conferencia de prensa en Lima. Algunos arqueólogos y otros profesionales que se hacen.
At a press conference in Lima, some of the archaeologists and scientists
de la comunidad científica denunciaron fraude.
Called it fraud and said they were built from animal corpses.
De cuerpos con restos de otros animales y dijeron a la opinión pública que unos artesanos mutilaron las manos y los pies y les mutilaron las cuencas oculares y les recortaron las cuencas oculares a una momia real en un taller.
Or that they took and mutilated the hands and the parts of a real mummy, I think is what he's saying. Is this is what they were at another press conference, an early press conference in Lima, Peru. This is what the skeptics were saying.
Para darle apariencia alienígena. La prensa, obviamente, nuestros colegas, creyeron en ellos. ¿Por qué? Porque son sus carreras.
The bottom line here, as we go through this, is this is in Congress. It's not just one guy who's like an alien fan. It's like, look what I found. The idea that's being presented here is there's different people from different countries that are credible, that are journalists, that are scientists, that are testifying here, that are essentially saying that this is legit, is my understanding of what's being said. And
es como que los cuerpos estén aquí en la UNAM.
They're listing like legitimate testing that they've done on this stuff to validate it.
La boca diciendo que es falso, que se trata. Vayan a la UNAM y se llenen la boca diciendo que es falso y de los análisis que se han hecho de estos cuerpos, y al otro lado la columna vacía, el trabajo de los negacionistas, que básicamente ha sido hacer diagnósticos mirando lo que ven en su móvil.
They talk fast, guys. This is like scientific, like Congress presentations. But what he's doing is he's going over and basically just saying, you know.
Una lista de comunicadores que usaron sus medios de prensa y canales como trinchera para atacar este caso como un fraude.
He's saying they're giving examples, I think, of how they're attacking this case as fraud, and he's testifying. It sounds like that it's not.
Quisieron confundir a la opinión pública. Y miren la diferencia.
Okay, look at the difference.
Se llama popularmente como y miren la diferencia. La de arriba es una de las, se llama popularmente como momias de Nazca, pero bien dice Jaime, son cuerpos desecados. Y la de abajo es una pieza ritual, incluso es de menor tamaño. Miren su rostro.
So he's comparing like a copy, a knockoff, with these mummies that they say that they've encountered, and
miren su pie, miren las características.
Look at the details, the characteristics.
Tienen un valor importantísimo a nivel cultural, pero no son los cuerpos desecados que se están investigando en con personal y catedráticos de varias universidades.
So this goes on, and they're giving all of their testimony in Congress to say, hey, this is legit, and you can go through, and there's scans and x-rays, and as we go through, I believe there are different people. This goes on, I'll link this video in the comments, this goes on for about 40 minutes, and it seems suspect to me, I think, as always, but I think we should be very suspect of the US Congress presentations as well, because we know that when the US government gives us something that we've been wanting to know about for a long time, there's something else that they're hiding, right? Or maybe it's just a psyop. Maybe it's just a psyop some of these things that we see in the US. Sometimes they're just straight psyops, like probably the flat earth theory is, just to get us fighting with each other and distracted over things over here, so we're not looking at what's really going on, right? The CIA is great at those.
Imaginadas por nuestros ancestros, de cabezas grandes.
Es decir, con espacios que le permiten ser.
So now they have a different person, a forensic scientist specialist.
Entre las articulaciones. La parte final de cada hueso embona a la perfección con el hueso que le sigue.
Saying the bones connect perfectly correctly.
Se observa el desgaste de estos por el movimiento de la biomecánica propia del espécimen, siendo huesos muy resistentes pero muy ligeros.
Very light and strong bones.
De particular interés, ya que es grande en sus proporciones comparadas al cuerpo. Sin embargo, es un cráneo neumatizado, es decir, con espacios que le permiten ser muy ligero, pero rígido y resistente, con una
skull is very
gran
resistant,
intracraneal, lo cual evidencia que era contenedor de material cerebral o neurológico muy grande.
Seeing they had big brains for the size of their skulls, it sounds like.
Es una estructura larga que se une a la cabeza en el piso.
So they go through and they're showing these scans. And you'll see, I guarantee you're going to see this all over the news and all over the conspiracy channels as well, saying it's 100% real. For the record, this was just announced in the Mexican Congress yesterday. I am not saying that I'm confident this is real. In fact, I always distrust anything that comes out of a Congress. So I'm not at all saying this is real. They're just presenting the data here in Congress, and they have all these witnesses testifying to those facts. That's what's happening here in this testimony, and they're bringing in people that are supposed to be credible. Bodies not human from Nazca.
Del 30% es algo totalmente fuera de parámetro.
So we're going through different testimonies, and you guys can take what you want from this. I'm not going to make you watch all the nerds just talking and talking all night long, but this is essentially where we're at right now, and these are the bodies that they say that they found. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I see most of you, and probably rightly so, are skeptical in the comments. I'm not making a statement one way or the other. They're making no secret about the fact that this just came out in Congress yesterday. I believe these were actually dug up in 2015. So yes, a long time ago by alien nerd standards. However, the idea is that they've been verifying these, and that's why they're now presenting this in Congress with actual physical bodies, supposedly, of these mummified bodies in the Congress of Mexico. It sounds like BS. I mean, everything. It's important to understand, and if I can be the skeptic, but also the open-minded skeptic, if you had told your grandpa about this, it would have sounded like BS to him too. If you had told your grandma about live streaming from a telephone in your hand and reaching thousands of people instantly, probably would have sounded like BS. If you told people from 300 years ago about airplanes, sounded like BS. But aliens, there's certainly a lot of videos that you can watch that a lot of these UFO and phenomenons. That's why I love the YFiles, because the YFiles guy digs into this kind of stuff, not simply with the idea of I want to disprove it or I want to believe it. He digs into it, he tells the stories, and that's why I follow his channel, because a lot of this stuff doesn't have logical explanations, like the face that was found on Mars, that NASA released the photo of what looked like a stone carved face on Mars, and then when everybody was focusing on that, they basically took another photo and modified the photo to make it look more like rubble, even though the original photo we saw was also from them. The government loves to lie and make things up. So, hey, yeah, tourism from Mexico. If U.S. Congress is only going to talk about it, right? Well, Mexico's they're going to launch the alien bodies. I wanted to go to the source on this instead of all just these mainstream U.S. news headlines that are being translated, and actually show you guys the source video and what's being said down here in Spanish. And obviously there's people that can listen to this and translate this much better than me, but I think we got the gist of what's being said. saying that they've verified these, they've done tests, and these are these are bodies, mummified bodies, that don't line up with any creature or any DNA on Earth. That's the summary, and that these are aliens. I don't believe the Mexican Congress has, like, Mexico as a country officially is like confirmed this or agreed with this. This was a presentation done before Congress. It doesn't mean that all the politicians agree. Not that you can believe what politicians say anyhow. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and well, we'll see you on the next one. I just thought, this is breaking right now. Let's do a video since I'm actually here a few hours away from this. All right, you guys, peace. We'll see you soon.